Investigators in the Democratic Republic of Congo have serious evidence pointing to actions against national security. This is according to President Félix Tshisekedi's spokesperson. Tshisekedi was attending an AU summit in Addis Ababa when his special advisor was arrested. Presidential spokesperson Kasongo Mwemwa announced on Tuesday that the investigations were ongoing and that the situation was under control. The investigation follows the arrest on Saturday of François Beya, who's the special security advisor to President Félix Tshisekedi. The president was attending the African Union summit in Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa. The arrest has triggered protests with members of the president's party taking to the streets. Neither Beya nor his lawyers have made any public statement in reaction to the arrest. Well, for more on this, we're now joined by African Affairs analyst and Channel Africa producer Nixon Katembo. Nixon, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Has this development come as a surprise that somebody so close to the president would be arrested for what they suspect is creating instability?
Well, I think that is not a surprise, Peter, given the way and the manner in which the president came to power through a negotiated deal, not the will of the people. You would recall that there were a cloud hanging around the results of the 2018 general elections in that country. And since then, there has been a different political agreements, including the marriage of convenience between the current president and the former president, Joseph Kabila. And that goes right through the composition of government, as well as the security apparatus within the country, leading up to the formation of the new majority, so they say, in parliament, where money is said to have exchanged hands. So in essence, the president's kind of started on a rocky ground, or rather shaky ground, not really having a clout on what is happening in the country. And what is happening currently now is not surprising to anyone who have been following the event in the DRC, both on the political front and on the security front. And it is not surprising that just this past a few days, as the president was attending the African Union summit, where he was supposed to hand over to the Senegalese president Macky Sall as the chairman of the African Union. There was sort of rumors of a coup d'etat in Kinshasa, although it has not come out openly. And I have credible sources within the presidency and parliament confirming to me that indeed this was a failed coup d'etat, which led to the president to return in Kinshasa so abruptly from the African Union summit.
So who is François Beya, and what kind of influence and power does he enjoy that he could be a spearhead for what sounds, as you say, could have been a coup attempt?
Well, François Beya comes from the rank of the security apparatus within the Democratic Republic of Congo, especially with the ANR, called the Agence Nationale de Renseignement, which is what they call our state security agency here in South Africa. And a long history with alliances with the former president, although he was elevated to the current position where he is as a security advisor to the current president. So not only him, he couldn't have done this alone. Of course, there are long other lists that based on sources within the presidency, saying that many other people have been arrested along him, although Francois Bey have come to be the face of what transpired while the president was away.
So what does this mean for the president? Is he safe? And are we going to see a reshuffle, maybe a parceling out of people that he suspects may have been party to this?
Well, that could be the case under normal circumstances within security systems around the presidency. But you have to look at the entire institutional framework of the Congolese state. I've been arguing on this very platform that this is a country which lacks structural institutions of the state that informs then the governing of everyday affairs of the, or rather the government, the functions of government, and whether the president is going to crack a whip on those perceived to be a threat to his presidency or his ascendancy or reign to power, that is a different ball game together, because then it means there will be a creation of new enemies along the line with the former enemies. You would recall that there has been already a political division between him and the person who brought him to power, in this case, Joseph Kabila, after a negotiated agreement between the two. And there has been talks within the Congolese political circle where the former president has not been unhappy along his henchmen, wanting to regain control of the power that they have lost. And this is not new to the Congolese government or state. We've seen what led to the eruption of war in Ethiopia alongside the TPLF, the Tigrayan People's Liberation Front, which has been in power for 27 years in that country, forming a rebellion and rebelling against the government. And this is also, in a way, you can borrow a leaf from such a political discontent of former leaders within the DRC not being satisfied with the manner in which they have been sidelined in the political process, and basically who get to gather around the political cake that is the DRC. Not only that, you look at the east of what is happening there, alongside the, the long insecurity in the country. Then you have to look at also the political process and the dynamics within the country, the call and the agitation for the general elections to happen within time. So these are issues that are going to come up going forward. Whether the president, Félix Tshisekedi, feels secure going forward, I think those are determinants that are going to characterize his term of office from now until the scheduled December 2023 general elections.
It's hard to imagine that a coup or even a coup attempt can happen without the support of significant figures within the army. Does that mean that the president again has to question the loyalty of some of his military leaders?
Well, quite frankly, the president has never had a total loyalty of the military leaders within the Congolese army. I've said it before here that the Congolese army is a conglomeration of different factions of rebel militias owing to the different wars that have happened in the country since 1996 with the advent of AFDL. You have the RCD, which also ruptured the two RCDs, RCD Goma and RCD Kisangani. You have the MLC, you have the negotiated agreement of the Sun City, which brought these different rebel groups, and the subsequent rebel groups emerged after dissatisfaction from some quarters within those who negotiated the Sun City settlement. So these are people who formed the Congolese National Army. At the same time, you would recall that there have been rebels in the East, and they only claim they, whenever there are negotiations, they want to go into the National Army with their recognized ranks from the rebel groups. That has not really given a chance to the Congolese as a state to have a national Republican army that is coherent, that have a cohesive approach to national security. And this is the political headache for any political leader that is coming from to that country. And Tshisekedi inherited all these problems. And to see that the military have been enjoying relative laissez-faire, in French, what they say, whatever they wish to do, having to be under the control of a president who has not been within the ranks of rebel groups or even having a formal training from or military background, still a headache for the president. And if you ask me about the loyalty, this is a divided loyalty, quite frankly, although it might show a face that the president have a control over it. So going forward, it is going to test his control of power, but it's going to test also how far the country can remain stable up to the general election in December next year. And this is an issue that perhaps the president could have passed on, because one of his campaign promises was to pass around the issues of security sector reform, which has not come to fruition. Of course, he had to train some military officer here and there within the Republican Guard, which actually is a brainchild of the former President Joseph Kabila. And when you have military officers which have that divided loyalties and have a different history and background from the political leaders within office, in a country that has been mad with political violence and security violence, which is as a result of different former groups. This is bound to happen. And if to cement the point really about the loyalty of the military to the president, I don't think this is the case.
All right, Nixon, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks very, very much indeed. Very complex country with complex issues, and certainly something we'll have to keep monitoring. But for this evening, thank you so much for your insights. Merci, mon frère. À bientôt.
Merci aussi, et merci à vos spectateurs.